Welcome, a real mixed bag of bivalves today. We'll start with the Limidae family, of which there are approximately 100 species, and at most I would have about 35, most of them being Australian. We'll look at the largest species that I'm aware of, Rathburni. The largest specimen there is 24 centimetres from Northern Australia. Some literature has Philippinensis as the largest one, but it doesn't appear to grow larger than 20 centimetres. So I would suggest that Rathburni is probably the largest species. I have four shells that are over 20 centimetres. It's three of them there. And we'll have a look at some others. Some more Rathburni, a couple there from Philippines, but all of those other ones and those large ones there are all from Northern Australia. Some common Southern Australia species there. Interesting group here from all over, including a lovely Lima vulgaris. I don't think that is aptly named at all. Often it has a beautiful pink interior, which is the case with that shell. However, the hinges are joined, so I'm unable to separate them to show you the pink interior, but hardly what I would describe as vulgaris as a name. So some real variety of species there. Lovely one there from Florida. And we've also got here some more Rathburni. That's my other one that's over 20 centimetres. And Goliath. That particular specimen is 14 centimetres. Beautiful shell, that from Japan. And I'll point out that Lima there was just over 10 centimetres. So most shells are fairly medium to small, but there are some large species amongst Limidae. All right, the next group I'm going to look at is the donic shells, Donacidae. And again, there's about 100 different species in Donacidae, of which there are 36 in this drawer. I'll look at the most common Australian species. We've got there deltoids, which is a common shell across southern Australia. Variety of colours. You do get a nice orange shell. That's about the closest I've got to orange, but I would love to get a bright orange one of these days. Always on the lookout for a bright orange specimen. But some nice purples and pinks and greys and browns amongst that group, and you find them in plentiful numbers. Same with the next one, Cuneatus, Northern Australia shell, and you find them in large numbers and nice variety of colours and forms there. And probably the most variable of Australian species is that of Faber. There, or in fact a couple of those could be Cuneatus, thinking of this one here, but you can see the variability of those shells, and in fact that often is the case. I know with a lot of species like the Florida species Variabilis, which certainly suggests variety, and I've only got a few specimens there, but I'm sure those people living in that area probably have displays like my display of Faber, where there's lots of different colours and patterns involved, and the same applies to many of these species. So some interesting ones there. Nice interesting one just here, just looking at the name. Syrah from South Africa, a bit varied there, that lovely purpley one, and that bluey, almost greeny colour next to it. So some lovely variations there, and just a couple over here. The largest species there is, I'm just looking at my notes, Brasiliana, that's 8 centimeters. And probably often cited as the most interesting in terms of shape is Scortum. So an interesting shaped shell, almost with some spines at the side there. And they're across the, certainly Indian Ocean, like the Philippines and India. All right, so that's my Donacidae. And to demonstrate the mixed bag of families here, this straw has a number of different families. I'll start with one that's a very popular Australian species, and that is the Neotrigonias, also commonly called the brooch shells. And I've got species there from every state and coastal territory in Australia. In fact, literature suggests they're not to be found in Northern Territory, but there's my Northern Territory specimen there, a beach specimen and just a single valve. But Uniophora, which also is found in Queensland and Western Australia. And then there's some lovely ones across this lovely one, Gemma from Tasmania. This one here, sorry, I'll look at the name. Margaretacea from Victoria. This one here is from South Australia, Bednali. There's some more Uniophorias, one from Queensland, one from Western Australia, and lots of interesting ones. There's one from Tasmania and New South Wales. So I often find them difficult to identify. The literature suggests there might be as many as 7 species and as few as 3 or 4. I think I have at least 5 different species amongst that group there. Another very interesting shell is that of Cuspidaridae. Beautiful. The shape of those shells makes them very popular. And those shells there, all from different localities, but they're all nobilis. And there's another little one in there. Hopefully you can see it. I'm sorry about the shadow. It's a lovely one there. Also some Lucinidae shells. Variety of species there. So just some unusual shells there. And the rest that I'm looking at now is the Lucinidae and the Semilolidae, which I have put together. There are many hundreds of species in these families. I'm sorry that I have so few to show you, and most of them are Australian. I'll point out the largest one I've got from Mexico, Distinguenda, beautiful interior there, beautiful red around the rim, that's over 11 centimeters. And then truly another magnificent one called Corrugata, and that particular one comes from Peru. Again, a beautiful interior. And here's the Australian, some beautiful ones from Australia with the lovely yellow and red interiors. And that's known as Pathonorium. And there's a lovely one here from Lord Howe Island that's also got that beautiful red and yellow interior. So a lot of different, interesting, there's another orange colored one from Mexico. And Fimbria. It's also a very unique shell. So some lovely large ones there. Some shells 10 centimeters and over. Some large ones, and then also some very small ones. All right, so I hope you liked that little installment of another mixed bag of bivalves. Thank you.